morning, Kirst.
Hi,
How are
Shay.
you?
So good.
So good to see you back. And what a change from your quarantine time. Tell me how you came to be trapped in the tropics.
Gosh, I mean, the most crazy thing ever, because we all knew there was a bit of a risk with all the sort of flights starting to close, but I never intended or expected that it would be such a length of time. And we were meant to be there for 6 days, and it turned into 3 months, because by the time the world had changed so hugely, we found ourselves with no repatriation, no nothing. I mean, we were on this tiny island. Literally, there were no ferries even at one point. So we were just, I mean, it really felt like 1872, where you were waiting for your next passage home. You know, the message in the bottle would arrive and you would be told, start packing the chests.
And in terms of the KG brand, Kirsten Goss brand, have you come back with renewed inspiration? Is there a new range just waiting to burst out?
Not only a new range, a whole new technique that we're working on. We're doing a whole lost wax casting process at the moment, which is this very organic, interesting, spatial kind of sculptural collection, which we're working on, and with lots of really beautiful gemstones, some of them quite organic, others where the metal is more organic and the stone is very clean. So we're doing these high contrast, modern organic pieces, which are born out of those giant, they call them oceanic granite rocks that have been completely striated from all the rain, tropical rain, and these really magnificent natural forms, which I think will, you know, inspire anybody, really. It's like nature at its strongest. So I always love the juxtaposition of very clean with the very organic. So it will be lots of opulent gemstones and lovely organic forms. And it's something I've wanted to do for a long time, but this time really did penetrate into the psyche.
I love the story that you tell of you at London Fashion Week with Farron in a baby carrier. And tell me a little bit about that journey, Kirst, of how the Kirsten Goss brand started out for you.
So I've always had this notion. Somebody told me that I sat on their bed at university once and told them that I was going to open a shop in London and live in South Africa. And I was like, thank God I said that, because I don't have any recollection, but I'm glad I had a plan. Glad I had a plan. So after Bosch, I went over and worked in London for Ericsson Beeman. That was the very cutting edge, prestigious kind of fashion jewelry company in London, and got a job there. And after that, I decided I wanted to do this on my own. It really was a case of, I think we had an amazing, I studied my degree at Stellenbosch University, which was very design orientated, then thrust into the commercial world of fashion jewelry in London, which was a really good wake up call, because we weren't going to be able to sit and lament on an angle on a brooch for 3 months. You know, it was super academic design, high art kind of thing. This was, collection needs to be at Paris Fashion Week by tomorrow. You're all staying through the night, and you use as much super glue as you bloody well need to get that thing on Alec Wick to get down the ramp. Do you know what I mean? I got to see how business needed to be run in terms of getting a collection out 4 times a year, making sure that you're approaching different stores, getting to London Fashion Week, showcasing your work, making sure that you know how to create volume. When I say volume, I'm talking like when Harrods bought bracelets from me that buy 20 of the same, and you needed to know that if you were going to design something, it needed to be able to be reproduced. I had studied a degree where everything had to be a one-off. Now I'm learning that, you know, I need to make a business that's like an art gallery style work. If I want to have a shop and people see it on a website, I'm going to have several of them, limited edition. But, you know, all those kinds of things were very good for me to understand. So I opened the shop in 2005 in London and Kensington, and it was a total dream come true. I mean, it was just to be able to have a gallery style store in London, and we were manufacturing everything there at the time at the back of the shop. So we had a workshop at the back of the shop, and then we were selling in the front. It was so magical. Those were the days, you know, and I was always terrible. I never ever stuck to the trading hours. I was in there selling, and it was 5 o'clock on a Sunday, and you had to close your doors. Let me tell you, I'd just keep the door closed. If someone was walking past, I'd open it and welcome them in. And I was just like a mad person. I used to work ridiculous hours, and it was just, those days in London were really such fantastic springboards. I met so many interesting, I've always thought our brand is for the sophisticated, worldly traveler that understands who they are and what they love. They're not slaves to fashion. They've got their own individual style. And in London, there was just such a cosmopolitan mix of those types of people. It really inspired me to keep creating interesting things and having those conversations with them. Being on the ground, doing it right there was fantastic. Yeah.
And you met some incredible people through your work.
I did. I worked with loads of celebrities there, and I mean, my first piece was Sarah Jessica Parker when she was huge in Sex and the City, and I did a full-on mesh dress for her out of Swarovski crystals and what have you, and that was a huge break. And that was through being in London, because I rented space at Westbourne Studios, and that building was very cutting edge in terms of creatives and stylists and fashion people, and they had all those Kate Moss and everyone were all cruising through there, and it was the time of I mean, we didn't have any social media, but it was the time of the television series and things that started, and people were using those platforms to push brands. So, you know, you wanted to get your pieces on the celebrity that was in Sex and the City or in one of the other series that were going on. And so that was the TV age, you know, in early 2000s. It was really exciting because we were around those people that got us to those people, those celebrities. A month later, because Anna Claire's dad was the Queen's chaplain, it was Christmas time, and they always have, at the Royal Chapel in Windsor, they always have drinks with the Queen afterwards. And I ended up in a sort of front room in the chaplain's house with her and Prince Andrew and Fergie. And it was just us with the headmaster of Eton and Anna Claire and her mum and dad. And she goes, well, Kirsten actually met you a month ago. And she was like, yes. And I was like, this is so surreal, because I'm like standing here with a tray of sort of, I don't know what they were, probably pigs and blankets or something British that they have for Christmas snacks, handing them over, would you like one, man? And I just thought, this is so bizarre. And then there was one more time after that, I got invited back to Buckingham Palace for another evening thing, and she was there. So actually met
BFFs, basically.
BFFs. It's like completely surreal. I have no idea how that will happen. But anyway, it did, and she was fantastic and actually quite intimidating. You know, I'm quite social and brave, and I actually found her quite intimidating, even though she was so wonderful. She's as quick-witted as they come, and even though she's pint-sized, and you think that it's going to be like your grandmother that you're chatting to, she just has an energy and an aura that really take your breath away. You know?
You and I are basically surrogate mothers to each other's boys. So I really
saved you the London Fashion Week days, hey, with the pouch. You could have been doing
I would have been there with you. I promise you I would have been there. I think from that I really get to see the wonderful values that you've instilled in them, that clearly thread through you, of humility and kindness and giving more to the world than what you've taken. And I love that so much about you and your kids. And I think I see that in your brand too. There's a real focus on sustainability and where you get your gems from and how they're curated and who is credited for the creations. It's a beautiful thread that clearly runs through.
Oh, that's so kind of you to say, Shay. And I really appreciate all those wonderful words. But I think the overriding thing is we have got an amazing team, and I have got an incredibly supportive family and children around. So it is a pleasure. You know, this thing is so not an island. It's everybody's input. And there's been a huge benefit to being, my own family have always been incredibly supportive, always had the benefit of a very astute business-minded father who's helped me a lot on some tough decisions. and a mother who has just been, she's our great. Even if I was making tin cans and hanging them off, I think she would wear them, to be very honest. But she has been a massive, to have that level of support helps you to see things through, because you've got that as a backbone. We've got very strong ethical beliefs about sustainability, and our workshops we all work together in our workshops, the goldsmiths and the production team and me, and everybody works together. So it's not like we've ever created sweatshops. We don't believe in importing things, ready-made things anyway. We like to create the craft in this country. It's what the government wants us to do, and it's been an incredible privilege to be able to do that with the goldsmiths, know that we've got a truly South African product. But I think to be able to get to this point in the business where it's very much sustainable and everybody has a great job, and we are able to be a happy ship that's sailing largely through good water, apart from the odd coronavirus, it's all down to the fact that we stuck to those principles from the beginning. We didn't ever dilute that notion. We stuck through it through the very hard times. The business model is not easy. Our labor is expensive in this country, and it's very tempting. That's why people go offshore and go and get things made cheaper in India or China or Philippines or wherever. And we haven't. We've stuck to it. And as a result, I think we have a very loyal client base, because they understand that there's always going to be after-sales service. I think that's so key. You're buying into a brand, it means that you will have somebody that can always answer a question, repair something, add to something, change something. There's just that, and I think in this world, when we're buying things nowadays, we need to know there's a vertical line from the top to the bottom that is clear. So yes, I'm hoping that what we started with and what we've worked so hard in trying to achieve is now more relevant than ever. As opposed to just being relevant to a niche bunch, it's now relevant to the mainstream.
Absolutely. You are such a treasure, and thank you for chatting to me. Oh. I always love it.
Oh, Shay. Well, you're such a treasure. So thank you,
darling,
for having me. Have a beautiful day.
And you too.
Take care.
Thanks, love. Take care. Bye.
Bye.